Hello, hello, everyone. Just making sure we are live. Waiting for a sign that we're live. Okay, I think we're there. Hello, everyone. Just there it is. Okay. Our confirmation that we're live on YouTube too. So I'm going to keep the chat up. Thank you for joining me on Zoom and YouTube. Another present and profitable masterclass. Thanks for coming on. Uh, Again, use the chat. Let me know you're here. Where are you joining us from? And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna do my best to do a shorter class today. And we've got quite a bit to talk about because, as you know, if you're new to me, then you may not know this, but I'll give you a little brief intro on myself. Hi, I'm Yvette, the Declutterist, and I'm really on this particular call. We're going to be focused on how a mompreneur might do business differently in order to do business without burnout, right? Without feeling the mental load take over her every waking second, right into the point where entrepreneurship is not enjoyable and motherhood is not enjoyable. It might feel fast paced and like, oh, super energizing. And maybe that chaos feels good, or you think it feels good because it feels like you're doing something. And if it's based on because I'm doing something, because hustle feels like, okay, I'm getting somewhere, I'm just going to invite you to take another scan at the situation and see, can I do business differently in a way that feels more ease, more effortless, more, I hear myself say that wrong, feel more easy and effortless. And can I still get ahead that way? I want to enlighten you to the answer for me as yes, you can build a business in more effortlessness and ease, especially as a mom. I think we've got a lot of um, competing interests when we're both ambitious and caring for young children, for instance, who need us maybe 24/7. And then that starts to get less and less. They need us less as they enter into daycare or they enter into school, right? School age kids. Uh, we realize that at any point, because, motherhood is so unpredictable, at any point, we may find ourselves just drowning. And I definitely was there. That is my story coming out from that. Coming out from that and postpartum depression was a big eye opener for me because, and that's what led me to do what I do now, how I'm leaning into helping mothers do business without burnout and just really in life, because I think a lot of our motherhood carries into our business, and then our business obviously carries into our motherhood. And how we're mothering, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel great, then we feel like something's wrong, and then we put all that blame on ourselves. It leads to mom guilt, and we're just trying to keep up. It's a lot. And so this masterclass was born from a place of just wanting to connect with anybody in that boat and show you, hey, there's a way to find that flow again, and for it to feel easy, right? Business to actually feel easy, because I was bringing in what me as a single something with no kids and just doing her own thing. I was bringing that energy into my business after kids, and it doesn't work like that. If I were to lie to myself and say, oh, I could keep it up the way I was and still do motherhood the way I want to do and be present for my kids and patient with them and connect with them on a regular basis, I could still keep both up. I mean, that I would have just fell flat on my face time and time and again trying to prove that right. Whereas, if anything, what I would rather prove right, and what I've proven right for myself in my experience, and continue to prove myself right with all the manifestation, I guess, under my belt at this point, is that um, I can choose how I do business so that I can still live my dream life as a mother and do all the things that I want to do as a mother, and have that be what causes me to be successful right now. right? And in every phase of life and business and motherhood, we are face to face with, okay, maybe a new challenge, a new way to level up to a new standard, a different belief, a different way of life, right? So we're constantly challenged. And the more we think that we still need to hustle our way through all the challenge, the more we just get more challenge, right? And and the challenge will eventually take us out. Fatigue, exhaustion will just swim in doubt because it's like, wow, I'm proving to myself time and time and again that this burns me out, but yet I'm still doing it the same way versus changing how you do business because you first thought differently, right? Because in order to do business differently, we do have to rethink business. And so I took my business down to the studs, and I like to take my clients down to basics when it comes to doing business with a minimalist mindset. I will say that just that is probably in a nutshell the best way to put it. But I really hope to serve on our call together. This is my goal. Burnt out entrepreneur moms who are juggling the unpredictability of motherhood and business while being still productive and managing time and self-doubt and the emotional roller coaster of it all so that you can do both motherhood and business with ease, right? And a level of accomplishment that makes you feel like, oh, I'm present for what I want to be present for. I'm here for what matters most, and life feels good. Now, if we rewind and go back to kind of that person who thrives on the chaos, thrives on the hustle, I wonder as to the quality of your life, right? What does that look and feel like? And is that something that feels sustainable? Because I'm all about having business and business be so sustainable that you can do motherhood with ease, right? You can be available for all those precious, impromptu, unpredictable moments that take your breath away, right? And nothing else consequential, right? Gets messed up, right? We are able to be present, live our best life with our business kind of pulling us away from where we want to be. And I think that's the ultimate identifier of like a life well lived, right? You want to be able to be on your deathbed one day and think, man, I went all in. I loved myself through it all. I was present for it, right? Because memories are what we were present for. Memories are only memories because they were experiences we were present for. And of course, we don't want to miss a thing when it comes to our babies, right? But at the same time, we want to serve and provide and just give our kids the ultimate leg up in the world as far as mindset and character and capacity, capability, and confidence. And I think when we feel that weight on our shoulders, then we probably can cave under the pressure and as if that's a sign to carry it all. Like I'm weighing down, that means I've got to carry more, like this hauling mentality. And that's a very masculine trait. It's something we've been doing for years and years and decades and lineages past where we're taking on more of I guess more burden in making a home, right? Making a life, uh, raising our status, elevating our, I want to say success in life, but even more than that, elevating our consciousness to the point where we're not fazed by the world and we're not uh, impacted negatively for what other people think. Instead, we're really fueled by our own belief in ourselves, our own trust in ourselves. And I want to kind of caveat from there with the topic of the day. So, what are you so scared of? When it comes to business, and I'm noticing in motherhood too, fear likes to run the show. And we like to operate in protection of ourselves against fear. And imagine if you're always in fear, right? You operate from that place of fear, then you're constantly in fight or flight. You're constantly in survival mode. You're constantly just trying to get out of danger, right? And then everything is a threat. It's a very tense place to be. It's a very cluttered place to be. It's a very heavy place to be mentally and physically. And so if we're operating from fear, which is the the true um, reason we stay stuck in life is from fear, then from that place of fear, we have doubts, right? We doubt ourselves, and that's the number one barrier to entry in business is self-doubt. Now, and I talk a lot about this, and you can watch some videos that I've already uploaded weeks ago, and probably just really any call with me, we're probably going to dive into this. But it speaks to the way that we maybe were brought up. It speaks to the beliefs we've borrowed along the way about ourselves and how we need to dim our light. And this kind of is why I chose to homeschool my son. Now, I noticed he wasn't his bright, bubbly, happy-go-lucky self when I'd pick him up from school. I feel like it just kind of zapped his energy. And I know it's good to kind of be, moving and grooving all day long. But I wondered if how much of that was, and with regards to like just being young, wild, active, and free kind of a thing. But no, we don't. We want some rest and some downtime with that. But I think school doesn't necessarily have that handled with an equal amount of calm and peace and kind of living with that flow as well as living in maybe a more adrenaline fused, fiery, go get 'em competition, a more aggressive mode, which I think with the rushing and the moving along and the we got to get to this and this subject and change subjects, it just can feel probably uh, deflating, I think, for a child. And that bothered me to see that. I also was concerned with learning and how his learning style and some of the things that um, that we've tested and found out for him is how best to support him in a school environment, in a public school environment, because I know private institutions don't always have the public dollars, or they don't have the public dollars and the resources that the public schools are pushing in order to make education more inclusive and provide those professionals, right, that stand alongside you as an advocate for your education. How best do you learn? Let me understand you and help you along and give you maybe some tools that you aren't coming to the table with. And so that I think is done in like the most humility ever, especially the instructors, the paraprofessionals who operate in those roles. I think it does lend itself to like social work, psychology, um, and just education, really. So it's kind of like all that is helping the public schools be a resource, an asset to families, as opposed to not. And I think more and more is coming out how an institution might be dwarfing our kids' potential and causing them to stagger a little bit, causing them to burn out, causing them to doubt themselves and not have the confidence and the creativity to kind of move through life, especially in the early years, right? When creativity is at its utmost. And that is the time to learn to be creative and stay creative and operate creatively, both in art, right? And in just being imaginative and play, but also in bouncing back from maybe the interactions with others, right? The peer pressure, the resilience necessary to stay on your game, uh, stay feeling confident and proud of yourself, stay feeling encouraged, right? And know what empowerment feels like and always be able to tap into that. I think that is what I felt was missing, is missing from schools. And my son, I was in a Catholic school, private school, my whole life. And then my son has tasted a little bit of private school, tasted public school, tasted homeschool at this point, tasted a nanny, as far as like just having kind of that experience. And I got to see him operate in all of those. And while I'm still unsure, right, what the journey might look like as far as homeschooling goes. I know it's what my decision is right now for him, especially. I want his little brother to do it too, homeschool with me. And so I'm just getting my ducks in a row and kind of filling it out. And so as we start this next year for my son in homeschool, what I'm most scared of is ruining my child, right? I think when we think about like, what are you so scared of? Because how that fear impacts your business, it impacts how you um, mother, parent, right? Discipline, right? What does that word discipline mean to you and how does it look? What does that mean? Some people believe in spanking and yelling. Some people believe in firm but kind. Some people believe in gentle and connection, right? Um, but repair is part of a successful parent-child relationship. It's that the parent always seeks to repair what might have been damaged in that bond. Well, anyway, I do believe as we start to get more ambitious and scale our businesses and really climb the ladder of success, then we are risking, it might feel like we are, right? We're risking our availability to our kids, our family unit. And that feels scary. Who are we going to leave behind if I'm successful? I'll try to link a video about what do we fear, success or failure? And what does that mean, right? And what we fear, right, does play a role in how we live and how we do business, how we serve, how we show up. And we want to get that in check, right? That's where the clarity comes in, is like, okay, well, how does that look? What am I doing? Um, how is this holding me back? And so if we rewind back to, my son being in homeschool as we're starting this year, what I'm most scared of is, yeah, that things are starting to compete, right? So even more so than maybe when he was in school, because I had more time. And now the onus is more on me than, say, a teacher in an institution, to make sure that I'm not holding him back, I'm not keeping him behind, that I'm working with what his creativity, how it wants to show up, and really unschooling myself or deschooling, whatever word you'd like to use, uh, deschooling my home because I come from a lot of rigorous academic background. And I think it served me for sure. Do I want it for my sons before they're ready? Not necessarily. I think maybe there's another way to go about this schooling business, where we're not zapping their creativity so soon and thereby maybe causing them to forget how to be creative because they're forced to do so much of what maybe is uncomfortable, they don't want to do, they're not interested in. And I'm reading a book now to kind of help me with maybe articulate. I think we read books because we want to better articulate some of our feelings and our what we're processing. And I am definitely in the phase of processing homeschooling and how it's going to fit because I do have a lot of naysayers in my life who aren't necessarily too keen on homeschool and or the idea they don't get it. I'm sure they're probably the idea of them doing it. I know this for a fact, makes them scared. Probably like how would they even measure up? They didn't go to school. They're not teachers, right? They didn't go get their masters, like my sister did to become a teacher. So there's a lot of misunderstanding as to why I would even pursue that, let alone why I would refuse public dollars in that sense to where, my kids should be taken care of with all these SAI programs. Why not just use those tax dollars and put them in there? Because I'm not, I'm not disillusioned that those are completely effective. So yeah, I guess I'm still in the thick of the comparison. And I want to show you, um, but I feel really good. I feel confident that I'm here now and I'm doing this with him and for him and we're both benefiting because that's what I intend. Okay. I'm intending that whatever we decide, and I include him in the we, that it's for the best. and that we're all going to benefit, that we're all staying present to what matters most. We're staying present to love as the reason we would do anything and test anything out and try. And our motivation is to ultimately, it's a shared motivation to ultimately just not lose the spark in from their childhood. So I'm wrestling with that because when I look back at school for me, it wasn't great. I remember it wasn't always great, I should say, because I think I did love to see my friends. I loved recess. What kid doesn't? It's like, get me out of this room, get me out of this desk, give me a ball, give me a grassy area, like just whatever, get me the hell away from that. And it's the best thing ever. Give me a snack, right? And I know that that was the case for me, right? Loved being outside, loved not being inside learning math and geography and things like that, until it became interesting to me, right? History at some point did become interesting to me, but I was an adult. And I think I had a place for it more so than I did as a kid. Like, I don't, I mean, it was cool to like go visit museums and have a little bit of background, but even then it was like, I wasn't really sure. Napoleon, Waterloo, I don't know. Um, Unless I had studied it right then and there and I was ready for this trip, right? That to go to France and know what I was looking at. Uh, I I think it was I had no context. It felt forced. And that, when I look back at that, that wasn't great. When I think of a lot of the stuff I did, it did feel forced. It didn't necessarily feel fun unless I was with my friends, unless I was playing, adventuring, exploring, talking, chatting, catching up. Um, Swimming right in the pool parties and stuff like that in the summertime, right? All of those are kind of the happiest moments. And then probably like watching TV with my siblings was a happy moment. Traveling were happy moments, right? And I want to make sure that when I look back at that, I'm giving my kids the same, those happy moments, those core memories. And then maybe removing the things that maybe caused me, yeah, to burn out pretty fast in school. Um, and I would say I could narrow that. I could narrow that into college. I got burned out in college. I think I definitely got burnt out in high school. And I know of a lot of kids who do. And because it's just so rigorous, right? To compete and to try to get into the school you want. I got into my number one school, college, and I worked my way there from valedictorian in elementary to, dean's list in college, and just really putting effort in to what I wanted because I knew it was the means to the end. However, when my mindset shifted around, this is important and I want to learn this, then those grades prove that my mindset had shifted in those areas. What was a struggle as far as math is concerned became A's and B's that I got in math. Like that, except for geometry and algebra and trig, I didn't get A's and B's, right? But if I had a great teacher, if I was interested, if they did well to like show me the context, then I did better in those classes, right? So I think that that is what comes with a parent wanting to homeschool their kid. They come with context. They want to use everyday life experiences to teach their child, to help show them, hey, look what the world has in store for you, that you could go explore based on your interests. Be brave, be curious. And I want to read to you from Teach Your Own by John Holt and I think Pat Ferrigna, because I'm not saying this is a conversation about homeschool. It's how what we are most afraid of, what we fear, what we doubt within ourselves does determine how we show up. And it's happening in both motherhood and business. And so for me, if I never conquered doubt when it comes to being where I am in my business right now, right? There's still more or there's no limit. There's still more, right, that I want to, even industries that I want to enter that you probably would be surprised to hear that I really want to enter those industries. And it's not just this, right? It's not just my coaching cohorts. Even though that I love, and I don't think that will ever go away, I'll just be kind of adding things. As we know, once you start to scale your business, you have more access to because you've built leverage, right? And so you're doing less, which allows you to do more of what you want to do, right? You're delegating, you're deleting things, and you're only doing what you love. Imagine, right? Imagine a business like that. Well, so if we have that in business, then we can make room for being a parent. Well, how you maybe what you fear in motherhood, in parenting, does affect how you operate in your business. And so when I think about my biggest fear being that I'm going to ruin my kids, right? That they will resent me because I wasn't present enough. That is kind of fuel for my fire to make sure I'm balancing both on a level I'm most comfortable with. I know everybody's different. And I think the demands of our kids as they are in different stages of growth, ages, is different. It varies. And so how we kind of step and rise to the challenge is contingent on that. So um, I I am reading so that I can just inform myself, maybe articulate and hear from people who've done the research and hear of those studies and see what the results were, because I want to firm up kind of what's going to inform my decision making when it comes to raising my kids and schooling, right? Well, in the book Teach Your Own, it is kind of I think the subtitle is the indispensable guide to homeschooling our children or your children. Well, anyway, I want to read from this. So, the author said that he was fed the line, even if you don't enjoy it, attending school makes you a well-rounded individual able to function in a democracy. And so it's like, even if you don't enjoy school, go because um it's going to make you well-rounded because you're going to take all the subjects and you're going to know how to read a globe and read a clock and have a conversation about um 1874 or Benjamin Franklin or whatever. Well, anyway, this is telling, right? When there is no context for a child to really like appropriate the information, it's just info. And so, how much of that is being just tuned out and remembered only until after the test, and then it's completely let go of? And it's like, was that a waste of time? I don't know. I don't know. I want to say yes, but it's like uh, all, and then we're just thinking, well, all kids have is time. Let them put them in class 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours a day, and whatever. That's fine. They got plenty of life to live, and so this is just helping them. It's kind of there's these conflicting conversations, especially when you're conflicted within yourself. And so let me read a little bit more. So most people start homeschooling by replicating school at home and loosen up as they see their children are learning and growing in many ways outside the school curriculum. So this is the deschooling idea that I was talking about. Homeschooling uh, parents can work with their children, not on their children. And that means letting go of many of our assumptions about how children and adults are supposed to relate. And a lot of times we're pushing our own agenda onto our kids instead of kind of considering what they might want. Building a meaningful relationship with your children, not one based on mere obedience to authority, right? That's a new idea for maybe a lot of parents. Not for me. I went into this wanting to consider them always. Uh, and so John Holt writes, all I'm saying in this book can be summed up in two words: trust children. Nothing could be more simple or more difficult. Difficult because to trust children we must trust ourselves. And most of us were taught as children that we could not be trusted. Um, Fear and shame these are just little highlights I have, but I really want to get to, I'm hoping I'm going to find the page that I was on. Fear and shame inhibit learning. Uh, Compulsory school attendance laws are a very serious infringement of the civil liberties of children and their parents, and would be so no matter what schools were like. how they were organized, or how they treated children. In other words, even if they were far more humane and effective than in fact they are, you will surely agree that if the government told you that 180 days of the year for 6 or more hours a day, you had to be at a particular place and there do whatever people told you, you would feel that this was a gross violation of your civil liberties. Um, but the state, the government justifies doing this to children. Um, Only thus can it keep them from being ignorant and a burden to the state. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's really eye-opening, this book. Um, and it even goes into college and how we kind of think that education is like we go down the education route only to we pay for it, only to then we pay for it. Anyway, let me not screw that logic up by even saying it before I'm even ready to kind of say it. I'm still processing through, but just how we kind of perpetuate this cycle of, yeah, why we are doing school the same way as maybe in our parents' generation, right? Like not even just mine, but even our parents' generation, because they're who raised us. And so they've instilled a lot of thoughts and beliefs and behaviors into us that now we're unlearning in order to do differently. And then also maybe not unlearning and still believing and therefore operating as parent of our children in that regard. And so I don't know what we're scared of really does inform our decision making. And so I would just invite you to think about, what are you scared of when it comes to your kids, when it comes to your business, and how is that affecting how you operate in your business, in your home? Because what we're scared of does affect our commitment, right? Our commitment level. Maybe we're not as committed, or we're over committed, right? Because we're fearing that we might lose something, fear of missing out, fear of losing clients, and we don't want to let anything go, right? If the prospect is there that this could increase our status, make us money, whatever, because that's what we believe to be the contingency in order to get more revenue, right? And see how this is kind of a belief of business. Well, what if you rethought business and you thought that my success is contingent on me committing to less things, not overcommitting myself, not overworking myself, because commitments is a sign of clutter. So if you've read the Declutter Code, you know what I'm talking about. This is my book about decluttering our minds. And there are signs of clutter, and I'll even read them to you. So, or you can even say, uh, they're also the effects of clutter, but they're like clues that we're cluttered in our lives, right? So confusion, chatter, chaos, conditions, collections, comparisons, control, and commitments. So commitments, is where we're spending our time and attention on. And if we're overcommitted, then we've cluttered our lives, right? If we reduce our commitments, then we've really honed in on what matters most. We're focused on that. We've got our boundaries up to say no to everything else except these, right? And our commitments really underlie our priorities. And so all of this to say that if you're feeling overcommitted in business, or that you've got too much to do and not enough time to do it, I know that could feel that way really easily as a mother and an entrepreneur at the same time, that one's got to give. But there is a way to do both at the same time where nothing has to give, right? You're doing both in excellence and in creativity, right? In full flow, and giving your energy to what matters most will enable you to do that. Reducing your clutter, the clutter of the mind, the fear, the confusion, the um, the lack of clarity. Reducing that, we are we're steering our ship, right? A little more straight and narrow. We're getting to goal faster because we're ridding the waste. And so this is very much a minimalist mindset, and it's very much a minimalist approach to business. There's even a minimalist model that I've created for business so that you can come to basics, look at your business and minimize the stuff that's just got you out in left field, not even sure what you're working on and or how it really will make you money. Maybe you think it's the way to make money, but there's so many steps to get there. Why is making money not closer? Why is making money not one step away? Why is it 20 steps away? Also a belief, also a mindset. So, if this resonated at all, please share this with another mom who might enjoy this conversation or want to ask a question on the topic, because I'll be manning the chat and the comments. So if they're even watching the replay, then definitely share this with them and leave a message if you have any questions. Because yeah, I think this is a big topic that we've narrowed into what 30 minutes, and I think there's more. Maybe there's a part two to this, but just a big breath in, taking in what served you, exhaling, letting go of what didn't, and hopefully walking away with value as to like, let's look at the rest of the day. How are we going to go about this? I've got kids at home, I've got my business, my clients are waiting to be served, right? I've got all these duties, so to speak. What am I going to do? And that's just that. That's not even you as a partner. That's not even you as a friend. That's not even you as a child yourself, right? That maybe you still might feel overcommitted. And the next cohort for the Mastermind for Entrepreneur Moms is closing on August 20th. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. So as it fills up and as it gets filled, whichever comes first, by August 20th, that the doors will close. And then whoever is interested is getting onto a wait list. But we're not even going to worry about that, because as far as when the next cohort starts, it could be 2027. Okay. So we are going to just end this year strong and just have the most amazing fiery, end of summer, fall, and then beautiful, peaceful winter holidays and things like that. All that you love about the holidays, it won't be hijacked by business and worries and not making the money that you hope to make this year. It's going to be set up so much differently, and all the vacations you want to do to the snow, can happen. Uh, or maybe to the sun. Maybe you get out of the snow for the winter. Who knows? Teach their own. But whatever that looks like, we don't have to kind of run into that December 31st date with just like fear and trepidation because we just didn't do enough, right? Before the new year. Anyway, I'm really excited about this cohort closing August 20th. So that is Thursday, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. So if you're interested, what I would recommend is, let me go ahead and share my screen and show you how to raise your hand and show that you're interested. And either get on a call with me or just pay for the course or pay for the mastermind. So here is the page that you're going to be landing on from the link below. And this is just an intro to the Mastermind for Entrepreneur Moms. This is how to work with me and have some one-on-one time with me, and also get the community and the support of fellow mompreneurs also juggling business and babies. But we're doing it without burnout, right? So these are some revolutionary topics and thoughts and ideas that are going to help you rethink business so that you can redo business. And we're going to just break it all down, come to basics. I'm going to set you up with a lot of tools, a lot of resources, and just a shift in some habits that might be keeping you stuck. Actually, how you're behaving, since it's a reflection of thought and belief, it could be keeping you stuck and keeping you in fear and hustle and headache and hassle. So you're going to want to apply now. So click this button. Once you apply for the mastermind, there's the opportunity to hop on a call with me, ask me any questions. This is after we've already determined your eligibility. We're good to go. That means a conversation with me will be fruitful, right? With you walking away with something that maybe we worked on together, dissected a little bit about your business, give you some clarity on, and you walk away with that. Or you walk away and you are set up for the mastermind. You've saved your seat in the mastermind in this next cohort. Anything else I can say? I think that's it. Thanks for coming on live. If there's any questions, let me know. And I can't wait to see you inside the